The last time I remember the Knicks and the Miami Heat going at it, just completely beating the hell out of each other, was in the 90s. I remember when Jeff Van Gundy in a fight with Patrick Ewing and Chris Childs, Charlie Ward. But I remember Jeff Van Gundy hanging on Alonzo Mourning's leg. It was like hilarious. And that was the time when the Knicks were good, Miami was good, these two teams. Pat Riley versus his old team because he wanted to be the GM of the Knicks, and Knicks weren't going to give him the chance because of all the craziness that happens with the Dolans. But this is going to be a fun series all the way to the end. I think it goes 7 games. It's going to be a grind series. Jimmy Butler isn't healthy. Jalen Brunson isn't healthy. Julius Randle isn't healthy. If it wasn't for Julius Randle, the Knicks do not win game number 2.
You're missing a lot of volume scoring when all those guys are out, too, because Miami's offense without Jimmy Butler is just not the same either, and Tyler Hero being hurt, too. Kyle Lowry really not being the same point guard as he was. One of the few bad Pat Riley contracts we rarely see out of him. It's a lot of these second-round picks and undrafted guys that are coming through for Miami in this series. Gabe Vincent playing very well. Guys like Max Strus. The Knicks' depth is countered in some instances to really do well against the Cavs later in that series, and then we've seen it in game 2 of that series. Guys like Josh Hart making a lot of big shots. Obi Toppin's played well. He had a little more time when Randle was playing in game 1. Didn't do as well consistently, but still was good. And RJ Barrett has stepped it up after really being bad the first 2 games of the playoffs against the Cavs.
The Knicks have a chance. I think they're the better team. They're not the better coach team. That's not taking shots at Tom Thibodeau, but you see what Pat Riley is and what his disciple, Spoelstra, who's done it before, who's won championships before. He won back-to-back championships with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And yeah, they might have bought that team, but Spoelstra was a big part of why that team won. And Pat Riley and what Spoelstra has done for that team and that organization for the last couple of years has really taken this team to higher heights. Now, Jimmy Butler is a fantastic talent. He's one of the best playoff players we've seen in the last 7 years. Every year, he is a pest. He's like a little flea you can't get rid of. He hurt his ankle in game number 1. He didn't play game number 2. Did that give the Knicks the advantage of that game? I don't think so. I think the score remains the same. Jimmy Butler is a guy that demands the ball. He shoots more than most of the players on this team, and if he's shooting more, the other players aren't getting as many shots, and if Jimmy Butler isn't on, the game could be a lot worse. So I expect Jimmy Butler to play. I just don't know what Jimmy Butler is going to show up. But if Julius Randle plays like he did in game number 2, and he's not the bricklayer we know he is, and they play a little bit more of Obi Toppin, I would start Obi Toppin so he gets kind of like a groove. When he has a groove, he plays better. When he had his groove in the other series, he scored 18 points. He still rebounds 6 or 7 rebounds. He's a young player still. He's still figuring things out. This is his first real test as a playoff player. Same thing with Emmanuel Quigley, even Grimes. These guys are youngsters. These guys need the reps. And I understand you have these veterans like Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. I expect them to play, but let one of these guys start early in the game. Don't start RJ Barrett. Start RJ Barrett on the second team. Let him get the points on the second team. That's what you've been doing really for the whole playoffs. You saw it in the first round against the Cavaliers. RJ would start on the second team, and you have Randle, who missed a lot of the first couple of games against the Cavaliers. You saw RJ playing with the first team, and he was shooting more than Jalen Brunson. So there's a lot of things that the Knicks could do in this series that can throw the Miami Heat off, especially with no Tyler Hero and not enough depth to compete against the Knicks if the Knicks use the right combinations against the Miami Heat.
Yeah, and you mentioned coaching adjustments too, because Tom Thibodeau, I think, did not attack Jimmy Butler defensively when Eric Spoelstra strangely left him in the game when he first got hurt in game 1, and I think that really cost the Knicks down the stretch. I was thinking RJ Barrett, who's done very well at driving to the hoop at the end of that Cavs series, throughout that game 1 too, was great in that first half. Thibodeau is going to have to make some kinds of adjustments because Eric Spoelstra has outcoached him in this series, and you brought up Eric Spoelstra, well, he's won before. I actually think what he's done better at is since LeBron and Wade left, he actually had to become a real coach. His defensive schemes, his play calling, because Miami hasn't been bringing in the free agents the same way. A lot of this Miami Heat team, besides Butler and Lowry, is all homegrown guys.
And G League players.
Yeah, all these wing players that were drafted late from these smaller
They shoot a lot of threes.
And I think that hurt them at certain points in game 2, and I think that was a big reason they cost them. I think they got too reliant on the 3 in the fourth quarter, and they missed a lot of bad shots.
That's what helped them win in game number 1. And that helped him to move on in the last series.
But I think the Knicks, when they adjusted to the 3s, the Heat didn't adjust back. I'll give Thibodeau credit on that, but I think that was also more on the players. Josh Hart playing very good defense. I think Barrett was.
Well, the Knicks aren't a three-point shooting team, and I think Miami knows that. How many times did we see Miami in game number 2 go into the paint? Barely ever.
Because they were struggling inside so much. Even when they did attack the paint, they made some free throws, but they still were passing it out a lot of the time, too. They were trying to play slower, which benefited the Knicks against the Cavs when the Cavs tried to play slower. That doesn't necessarily be sustainable. Now, Miami's defense is still very good, but the Cavs' defense was very good, and it didn't work for them either.